Hey, this is Dylan Andrews with 7th School of Guitar, and in this video I want to show you how you can play chords up and down the fretboard easily. So this is going to be a really in-depth lesson because what I want to do is show you 12 different ways that you can play chords up and down. So for instance, a G chord, I'm going to show you 12 new ways that you can play that G chord and everything. And what this is really going to focus on is chords that are called triads. And triads are just chords that use only 3 notes. So generally speaking, all of your open chords are just triads. C is a triad, G is a triad. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, a G, it uses 6 strings. How could it only have 3 notes? Well, that's because notes are repeated. Like in the G chord, there's a G here, here, and here. They're all Gs, but unique notes, there's only 3 of them, right? And the thing about this is if you know how to move these notes around, you can play up and down. Like a G chord has notes G, B, and D. So if I find notes G, B, and D, G, B, D, now I've got a G chord, okay? But I'm going to show you a way that you can do this without having to think of the notes of every single chord, finding those notes. That can be way too difficult. So first, I want to start out by just talking about strings 1 through 3. Now, we're always going to be viewing 3 strings at a time, and on every 3 strings, there's going to be 3 different ways that you can do it. So on strings 1 through 3, what I'm going to do is first chord that I want to show you is what's called root position. Root position means that the root of the chord is the lowest note. So in a G chord, the G chord is the lowest note. In a D chord, the D chord is the D note is the lowest note. In an A chord, the A note is the lowest note, and so on. So root position looks like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my ring finger on the 12th fret of the 3rd string. I'm going to put my pinky on the 12th fret of the 2nd string, and I'm going to put my first finger on the 10th fret of the 1st string. And this creates a major chord. Now, whatever note this ring finger lands on, the 3rd string, that determines the chord. So right now, this is landing on a G note, so this is a G chord. But if I take that shape and move it here, now it's landing on an F note, so now it's an F chord. But the beauty is the shape stays the same. This is a D, F, E, G, A, and so on. All right? So it's just the shape. Now, let's go back to the original that I showed you, 12, 12, 10 here. If I want to make it minor, I keep everything the same. All I do is I move my pinky to the 11th fret of the 2nd string, and that creates now a G minor. So it's the same rule. Whatever note this lands on determines the chord, but this is now a minor shape. So if it lands on a G note, it's a G minor. If it lands on an E note, it's an E minor, and so on. Now we're going to look at what is called first inversion. All this means is that the 3rd note of the scale is in the bass. So earlier, the root note was the lowest note, but now the 3rd is the lowest note. So let's take G for example. The 1st note of the scale is G, the next one is B, and the next one is D. So this is the 1st note, the 3rd note, and the 5th note. Now, if this doesn't make sense, it's okay. You do not need to know this to be able to play these chords. But if it does make sense, it'll just help you understand them a little bit more. But a first inversion just means that the 3rd interval is now in the bass. But again, if that doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. Here is what the chord looks like. This is another way to play G. So my middle finger here is on the 4th fret 3rd string. My first finger is on the 3rd fret 2nd string. And my first finger as well, its barring, is on the 3rd fret 1st string. Looks like this. Now, whatever note I land on the 1st string determines the chord. This is a G chord, so you guessed it, I'm on a G note. If I go to an A note, shape is the same, but now it's an A chord. B, C, D, E, whatever. All right, so this is major. But what if I wanted to do minor? All that's going to happen is my first finger is going to lie down on all 3 strings now and create the minor. I'm still on a G note, so this is G minor, A minor, B minor, C minor, and so on. Now let's talk about what's called second inversion, where what if the 5th interval is in the bass, is the lowest note, all right? But you'll probably recognize this one. It's just a D chord. It's a D shape, okay? Just like that. Now, whatever note on the 2nd string I land on determines the chord. So when a D chord, guess what note this is on? It's a D. If I move it up to an E note, it's now an E, F, G, A, okay? Now, if you don't know your notes super well yet, I'd recommend practicing your notes 5 minutes a day. This will help you learn literally anything on the guitar easier and quicker. But if you don't do that, just by doing these shapes, it'll help you memorize the notes. All right, now if I wanted to do a minor shape, I just do the D minor shape, like this. And then I move it up to an E note. Now it's an E minor, F minor, G minor, A minor. And that is all of the shapes on the strings 1 through 3. So what I did was I showed you 3 new ways of playing each major chord. So this is a G, this is a G. If I take that D shape and move it to a G, that's a G. So we got G, G, G. And if I just wanted to make those minors, I would just do the minor versions of them. And that is how you play chords 1 through 3 up and down the board. All right, now let's talk about strings 2 through 4. Okay, so first I'll show you the root position. What you're going to do is you're going to put your ring finger, we're going to create a G chord here, on the 5th fret, 4th string. Middle finger goes on the 4th fret, 3rd string. And your first finger goes on the 3rd fret, 2nd string. And this is going to create a G major chord. This is root position. So whatever note I land on the 4th string is going to be the chords. This is a G note, this is a G chord. I'm on the 12th fret here, so this is a D note, this is a D chord. Now if I want to make it minor, my middle finger is going to go away, and then my first finger is going to lay down on the 3rd fret of strings 2 and 3. Now it is a minor, so this is G minor, A minor, B minor, C minor, and so on. All right, now let's go into first inversion. So first inversion, if we're going to create a G, I don't know why I chose G to do all these chords in, but it doesn't matter which one we choose. We're going to do G again. What I'm going to do is first inversion, remember the 3rd is in the bass, and remember too, if that doesn't make sense, it doesn't matter. I'm going to put my ring finger on the 9th fret of the 4th string. My first finger is going to go on the 7th fret of the 3rd string, and my middle finger is going to go on the 8th fret of the 2nd string, the B string. Now, whatever note my middle finger, the 2nd string, lands on determines the chord. So with these chords, you need to know 3 things. You need to know the shape, you need to know which string the root is on, and you need to know where your notes are. If you got those 3 things, you'll be able to play these chords really quickly. So, that is the G. Move it up to an A note, it's now an A major, but that's first inversion. Now, if I want to make it minor, it's a little trickier. All that happens is this note needs to go down 1. But it puts my fingers in an uncomfortable position, so I need to move my fingers around to make it more comfortable. So my middle finger for the minor first inversion now is middle fingers on the 8th fret, 4th string, first fingers on the 7th fret, 3rd string, and my ring finger is on the 8th fret, 2nd string, and that is the minor. The root is still on the 2nd string. All right, now let's go into the second inversion where the 5th is in the bass. So we'll do G again. This one's a little bit simpler. All you do is you take your first finger and you lay it down on strings 4, 3, and 2. I want to create a G chord, so this specifically is going to be on the 12th fret, and that is a major second inversion. The root is on the 3rd string here. Now if I want to make it minor, then what's going to happen is my middle finger goes on the 12th fret of the 4th string, ring finger goes on the 12th fret of the 3rd string, and my first finger goes on the 11th fret of the 2nd string. Looks like an A minor shape, because it kind of is. But I'm on a G note, so this is a G minor. And that's all the chords for strings 2 through 4. Now, if you're feeling overwhelmed by the amount of chords that we've already gone through, it's okay and it's normal because these are a lot of different shapes. But don't feel like you need to get all of this down right away. You need to understand it. You can rewind this video, you can pause this video. It is here for you to watch over and over how many times you need. So just remember to have patience if this is new, keep going through it, and if you have any questions, write your question in the comments and I'll get back to you and answer it in the best way that I possibly can. Also, if you like this video so far, please like and subscribe. Thank you. All right, now let's go through strings 3 through 5. Let's start with the root position. All right, so we've been doing G the whole time. Let's stick with G. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my my pinky finger on the 10th fret, 5th string. My ring finger goes on the 9th fret, 4th string, and my first finger goes on the 7th fret, 3rd string. And this, voila, is a major root position. My pinky is where the root is. Now, if I just take my ring away and put my middle finger 1 fret behind, it's now on the 8th fret, 4th string, it is now minor. And that's the major and minor root position. Now for the first inversion, what you're going to do is, let's change it up, let's do a D first inversion, is I'm going to put my ring finger on the 9th fret of the 5th string, and then my first finger is going to lay down on strings 4 and 3 of the 7th fret. And this creates a first inversion. Now my root is on the 3rd string here. And that is a major first inversion. If I want it to be a minor, I'm just going to move my ring finger out of the way and put my middle finger on the 8th fret 5th string. And that creates a minor first inversion. Now for the second inversion, let's go back to G. I'm going to put my middle finger on the 5th fret, 5th string, my ring finger on the 5th fret, 4th string, and my first finger on the 4th fret, 3rd string. My root here is going to be on the 4th string, and this is creating a G in second inversion. Now if I want it to be minor, all I got to do is kick my first finger back 1 fret. And that creates the second inversion minor. If this is a little uncomfortable for you, you can replace your middle and ring with your ring and pinky. Whichever ones, doesn't matter, they are both equally as correct. Now, to do all of this on strings 4 through 6, it is literally the exact same thing. Let's go back to the major root position. This is how you play root position on the strings 3 through 5, okay? Now, if I wanted to play the root position on 4 through 6, I just jump up a string. The shape is completely identical, okay? But the root position now is still my pinky. It's still the 6th string. It's just the note has changed. On the 5th string, this is a G. On the 6th string, this is a D. So this is my root position major, root position minor, same as the ones I just showed you, okay? First inversion will still look like this. So this is an A first inversion. The root is on the 4th string. There's your minor first inversion. Okay? Then if I wanted to do a second inversion, same shape as before. It's just everything's moved up, including the root. Okay? So now the root is on the 5th string. And if I wanted to make it minor, I just pop my first finger back a fret, and now it's minor. Now, how to practice this? Here's what I would do. There's 2 main ways, or I'll give you 3 main ways of practicing this. One is just choose a chord. Let's say G, and just try to find a certain number of ways to play G. If you only want to focus on 1 through 3, find those 3 ways to play the G. If you want to include more, do more. But just focus on 1 chord. Then you can also add the amount of chords you do. Like you could then try to do a chord progression only using strings 1 through 3. Okay, so if you wanted to do, I don't know, G to D to C to D again, you could do that, right? But you can choose a 4-chord progression and then try to find it using these shapes. The last way that you can do this is try to choose the chord that is closest to where you are. This is called voice leading or playing in position. So if I'm playing a G chord here, and the next thing that I want to do is a D chord, well, what is the closest way I could play that D? I could go all the ways down here and play a D, and that's 100% correct. But it's a big distance. But I could do the root position shape, and now it's just 1 fret lower. So you could try to play in position. That's a little bit more advanced. If all these chords are new for you, just stick with trying to find one at a time or a couple. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment if you have any questions or what you thought about this video, and again, like and subscribe, and I will see you at the next one.